When my son looked me in the eye at his rehearsal dinner and told the guests, "My parents aren't helping with the wedding at all," I just smiled, pulled out my phone, and started making calls. By the time dessert was served, I'd canceled $48,000 worth of wedding vendors. The venue coordinator's text came through just as Michael was giving his speech. Deposit refunded as requested. Best wishes with your plans. Let me back up. I'm Rebecca Chen, 60 years old, recently retired from 32 years of teaching high school English. My husband Tom passed away 3 years ago from a sudden heart attack. He was only 59. We'd been married 34 years, raised 2 kids, and thought we'd done everything right. Tom was a civil engineer. We weren't wealthy, but we were comfortable. We taught our children the value of hard work, of saving, of living within your means, or at least we thought we did. My son Michael is 32. He works in finance at a mid-sized investment firm in Chicago, pulling in a solid 6-figure salary. My daughter Julia is 28, a resident at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. Both successful, both adults, both capable of standing on their own 2 feet. That's what I kept telling myself. The phone call came on a Tuesday evening, 6 months before the rehearsal dinner that would change everything. "Mom, I have amazing news." Michael's voice was bright with excitement. "Amber and I are engaged." I was thrilled. Amber Taylor had been dating Michael for 2 years. She was pretty, 29 years old, worked in social media marketing, or that's what she told people. What she really did was post photos of herself on Instagram, hoping to become an influencer. She had about 12,000 followers, which apparently made her semi-famous in certain circles. "That's wonderful, sweetheart. I'm so happy for you both. We're thinking a June wedding. June 14th, to be exact. We've already looked at venues. June 14th. That was Tom's birthday. He would have been 62. That's a beautiful date, Michael. I knew you'd love it, Mom. It's a way to honor Dad, you know? Have him there in spirit." My heart swelled. Maybe I'd been too hard on Amber. Maybe she did understand what family meant. "We found this incredible venue," Michael continued. "The Lakeside Estate in Lake Forest. It's right on the water, holds 200 guests. Mom, it's perfect. It's everything we dreamed of." "That sounds lovely. There's just one thing." His voice shifted slightly. "The deposit is pretty steep, $15,000. We were hoping, since Dad's not here to walk Amber down the aisle or help with costs, maybe you could help us out with the venue, just to get us started?" I should have said no right then. I should have remembered what my best friend Linda had told me after Tom died. "Rebecca, you're vulnerable right now. Don't make any major financial decisions for at least a year." But this was my son's wedding, my only son, and he'd chosen Tom's birthday as the date. "Of course, honey. I can do that." "You're the best, Mom. I'll text you the venue's payment information." The text came through 30 seconds after we hung up. He'd already had it ready. That should have been my second warning sign. The first was when he'd asked in the first place. Tom and I had saved diligently. We had a comfortable retirement fund, the house was paid off, and Tom's life insurance had been substantial. I wasn't rich, but I was secure. Michael knew this. He also knew I was lonely, grieving, and desperate to feel needed. 2 weeks later, Amber called. "Rebecca, hi, it's Amber." She always called me by my first name, never Mom or any variation thereof. "I wanted to thank you personally for the venue deposit. Michael told me what you did." "Of course, dear. I'm happy to help. You're such a saint. My parents are so traditional, they think we should pay for everything ourselves. Can you believe that? Like, it's 2024, not 1,950, her parents. I'd met them once. Her father was a cardiologist, her mother a lawyer. They lived in Winnetka, in a house that had been featured in Chicago Magazine. "Well, every family handles things differently," I said carefully. "Exactly. And I'm so grateful Michael has a mom who understands. Actually, that's why I'm calling. I found my dress." "That's wonderful. It's at this boutique in Gold Coast." Vera Wang. "Rebecca? It's perfect. It's me. Michael says I look like a princess in it. I'm sure you do. The thing is, it's a little over our budget. Okay, a lot over our budget. It's $8,000. I actually pulled the phone away from my ear and looked at it. $8,000 for a dress? I know. But Rebecca, It's the dress. The one. Every bride has one. And I'll treasure it forever, pass it down to my daughter someday. That's when she started crying. Not loud sobs, just gentle sniffles. Amber, honey, that's a lot of money. You're right. You're absolutely right. I'm being ridiculous. I'll just get something off the rack at David's bridal. It's fine. I wanted to feel special on my day, you know? But you're right. It's too much. She wasn't asking. She was manipulating. I knew it even then. But the thing is, when you're lonely and grieving, manipulation feels like connection. Let me think about it, I said. Of course. No pressure at all. I totally understand. She sent me a photo 2 hours later. Her in the dress, standing in front of a three-way mirror, her face radiant. The dress was beautiful, I'll admit. Lace and silk and dreams. The text underneath said, "The one that got away." I transferred the $8,000 the next morning. Julia called me that afternoon. My daughter had always been more direct than Michael. Mom, Michael told me you paid for Amber's dress. I wanted to help. Mom, she sighed. You don't need to buy their love. They're adults. They have jobs. It's not about buying love, Julia. It's about being generous when you can be. No, it's about them taking advantage of you because you're lonely. Julia, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. I worry about you. I'm fine, sweetheart. But I wasn't fine. Not really. The house was too quiet. I'd retired from teaching because I thought I'd have time to travel with Tom, to finally take those cooking classes, to learn watercolor painting. Instead, I had time. Endless, empty time. And Michael and Amber filled some of that emptiness. Over the next 4 months, the requests came steadily. Not all at once. That would have been too obvious. They were spaced out, always presented as unique circumstances. The photographer was a former student of mine who'd become quite successful. Michael saw his work on Instagram. It would mean so much to have someone you know capture our day. Mom, someone Dad might have approved of. $5,500. The florist was the only one who could do the specific orchid arrangements Amber had her heart set on. They're Vietnamese orchids, Rebecca. Like your heritage. It would be a beautiful way to honor your culture at the wedding. I'm Chinese American, not Vietnamese, but I paid the $6,000 anyway. The catering needed to be upgraded. The band needed a deposit. The videographer, the cake, the wedding favors. Each time, there was a reason. Each time, I told myself it was the last time. Each time, I wrote the check. I never told them no. I never asked for a payment plan or a promissory note. I just gave. Julia tried to intervene once more, 3 months before the wedding. We were having lunch at a cafe near the hospital. She'd just finished a 30-hour shift and looked exhausted. Her dark hair pulled back in a messy bun, shadows under her eyes. Mom, I need you to hear me. Not as your daughter, but as someone who loves you. You need to stop. Stop what? Financing their entire wedding. Do you know what they're telling people? What do you mean? She pulled out her phone and showed me an Instagram post. Amber, posing in front of a wedding planning binder, caption reading, "Blessed to be marrying my best friend. We've worked so hard and saved for years to create our dream wedding. Self-made, dream wedding, worth every penny." I stared at the screen. Worked so hard, saved for years, self-made. Mom, you've paid for almost everything. The venue, the dress, the photographer, the flowers. You paid for their engagement party at that restaurant downtown. $3,000 for 50 people to eat appetizers. They'll pay me back. Have they said that? I was quiet. Mom, have they ever even once said they'll pay you back? It's a gift. Parents help with weddings. Help, yes. Finance entirely while claiming they did it themselves? No, you don't understand. I understand that you're lonely and they're exploiting that. I understand that Dad would be furious if he could see this. That stung because it was true. Tom had been generous but firm. He believed in helping our kids learn to fly, not in carrying them. Your father would want me to support our son on his wedding day. Support? Yes. Enable? No. There's a difference, Mom, but I didn't want to see the difference. Because seeing it would mean admitting I'd been played. That my son, who I'd raised to be honest and hardworking, had learned to use me as a bank account that never declined. The straw that broke the camel's back came 2 weeks before the wedding. Amber called, her voice tight with stress. "Rebecca, we have a situation." "What's wrong?" "The honeymoon. Michael booked us this amazing resort in Bora Bora. 5-star, overwater bungalows, the whole thing. But there was a mix-up with his credit card rewards points, and the full payment is due now instead of after the wedding." "How much?" "12,000. I actually laughed. I couldn't help it. It was either laugh or scream. "Amber, that's..." "I know, it's insane. We're going to cancel. It's fine. We'll just do a weekend in Wisconsin or something. Door County is nice, right?" "Door County." She said it the way someone might say quarantine facility. "We'll figure something out, Amber." No. You've done so much already. We can't ask for anything else. This is on us. We'll just postpone the honeymoon. Save up. Go next year maybe. Next year. After they'd spent their first year of marriage resenting me for not coming through, I transferred the 12,000 that night. When I logged into my bank account the next morning and saw my savings balance, something shifted inside me. Tom and I had saved for 30 years. We'd sacrificed vacations, driven old cars, bought generic brands at the grocery store. We'd done it so we'd be secure in retirement, so I'd be taken care of if something happened to him. And in 6 months, I'd spent $48,000 on a wedding for a son who hadn't thanked me once, and a daughter-in-law who called me by my first name. The rehearsal dinner was held at a private room at Gibson's Steakhouse on Rush Street. Amber's parents were hosting, which should have been my first clue about what was coming. I arrived early, wearing a navy dress I'd bought for Tom's funeral and hadn't had occasion to wear since. Julia came with me, her arm linked through mine. "You look beautiful, Mom," she said. "I look old. You look distinguished. There's a difference." Michael and Amber arrived fashionably late. Amber, in a white rehearsal dress that probably cost more than my first car. She was glowing, phone in hand, already filming Instagram stories. The dinner started pleasantly enough. Amber's mother, Patricia, gave a toast about young love. Amber's father, Richard, told a story about the first time Michael came to their house and accidentally called him Sir about 40 times. Everyone laughed. The wine flowed. Filet mignon was served. Then Richard stood up again. "I want to say something about these 2 incredible kids," he began. "In this day and age, when so many young people expect handouts, expect their parents to fund their lives well into their 30s, it's refreshing to see a couple who've done it themselves." My fork stopped halfway to my mouth. Michael and Amber have worked incredibly hard. They've saved money, made sacrifices, planned every detail of this wedding themselves. They didn't come to us with their hands out. They didn't expect anyone else to pay their way. They're building their life together on their own terms, with their own resources. People were nodding, clapping. I looked at Michael. He was smiling, holding Amber's hand. "That's the kind of independence and integrity that will serve them well in marriage," Richard continued. "They're not waiting for inheritance, not looking for bailouts. They're standing on their own 2 feet. And as a father, I couldn't be prouder." More applause, more nodding. Patricia stood next. "I agree completely." When Amber told us they wanted to pay for their own wedding, I was so impressed. So many brides expect their parents to foot the bill for everything, but not our Amber. She and Michael did this together. Every expense, every detail. That's real partnership. I felt Julia's hand grip mine under the table. Amber stood up, dabbing at her eyes with her napkin. "Thank you so much. Michael and I we wanted to start our marriage the way we mean to continue. Independent, strong, not relying on anyone else. We're so grateful for all the love and support, but we're proud that we did this ourselves." She looked directly at me when she said it. That's when something inside me went cold and calm. Michael stood next, putting his arm around Amber. "I have to agree with everything that's been said. My dad taught me to work hard, to earn what I have. He wouldn't have wanted me to take handouts, even from family. So Amber and I saved for 3 years for this wedding. Every cent came from our own paychecks, our own sacrifices." Someone called out, "That's the American dream right there." I set down my fork, picked up my phone. Under the table, I opened my banking app. Julia leaned over and whispered, "Mom, what are you doing?" Something I should have done months ago. I pulled up my contacts. First call, The Lakeside Estate. Hi, this is Rebecca Chen. I paid a deposit for the Michael Chen and Amber Taylor wedding on June 14th. I need to cancel and request a full refund. The table had gone quiet. People were staring. The venue coordinator sounded confused. Ma'am, the wedding is in 2 weeks. Our cancellation policy, check the contract. I'm the one who signed it. I'm the one who paid. I'm canceling. Mom! Michael's face had gone white. What are you doing? I held up one finger. One moment, please. The coordinator came back on. I see. Yes, the contract is in your name. We can process the refund, but there will be a 20% cancellation fee. That's fine. Please proceed. I hung up. The room was silent. 35 people staring at me. I made the second call. The photographer. Hi, Mark. This is Rebecca Chen, your former teacher. I need to cancel the booking for June 14th and request a refund. Mrs. Chen? But the wedding is... I know when it is. Can you process the refund? Yes, but I've already turned down other bookings for that date. I understand. I apologize for the inconvenience. Please send the refund minus whatever cancellation fee is appropriate. Third call, the florist. Fourth call, the caterer. Fifth call, the band. Michael had stood up. Mom, stop, please. What are you doing? I finished the call with the band and looked at him. Really looked at him. When had my sweet boy, who used to bring me dandelions from the backyard and call them flowers, become this person who could stand in front of 50 people and lie? I'm doing something I should have done 6 months ago. I'm stopping. Amber's face was red. Stopping what? Paying for your wedding. You're not paying for our wedding. Her voice was shrill. We paid for everything ourselves. I picked up my phone again and pulled up my banking records. Read them aloud. January 15th. Lakeside Estate Venue Deposit. $15,000. February 3rd. Vera Wang Wedding Dress. $8,000. February 28th. Photographer Deposit. $5,500. March 12th. Florist Deposit. $6,000. Mom, please, Michael's voice cracked. I kept reading. March 30th. Catering Upgrade. $8,000. April 15th. Band Deposit. $4,000. April 28th. Videographer. $3,500. May 5th. Bora Bora Honeymoon. $12,000. I looked up. Every face in the room was staring at me. Amber's parents looked like they'd been slapped. Total expenses. $48,000. Paid entirely by me, Rebecca Chen, the mother who apparently isn't helping with the wedding at all. Amber started crying. Real tears this time, not the manipulative kind. You weren't supposed to say anything, she whispered. I wasn't supposed to say anything. I repeated it slowly. You took almost $50,000 from me, told everyone you paid for it yourselves, and I wasn't supposed to say anything. It's embarrassing, she wailed. Having your mother-in-law pay for everything. People judge, so you decided to lie about it. And Michael, you went along with this? My son couldn't meet my eyes. Mom, I was going to tell you. We were going to pay you back after the wedding. Were you? I stood up. Were you really? Because in 6 months, you've never once mentioned paying me back. Not once did you say, this is a loan, or we'll pay you back over time, or even, thank you for the gift, Mom. We were grateful, Michael insisted. You were entitled. There's a difference. Julia stood up next to me. I told you, she said quietly to her brother. I told you this was wrong. Stay out of this, Julia, Michael snapped. No. Julia's voice was steel. You're 32 years old, making $140,000 a year. Amber makes money from her Instagram posts, and her parents are loaded. But you bled our mother dry because she was lonely, and you knew she'd say yes. We didn't. You did! Julia's voice rose. Do you know what Mom gave up? She was going to take that Southeast Asia trip she and Dad always dreamed about. She was going to renovate the kitchen. She was going to join that watercolor painting class at the community center. But she spent that money on you instead, and you couldn't even acknowledge it. Richard cleared his throat. Rebecca, I apologize. We had no idea. Michael told us they'd been saving for years. They were saving, I said bitterly. Saving my money instead of their own. Patricia looked at Amber. You told us you couldn't afford the dress you wanted. You said you settled for something in budget. Amber was full-on sobbing now, mascara running down her face. "I'm so sorry," Michael said. "Mom, I'm so sorry. We were wrong. I was wrong. Please don't cancel everything. We'll pay you back. Every cent." "When?" I asked. "When will you pay me back? After the honeymoon in Bora Bora? After you buy your first house and need a down payment? After Amber gets pregnant and needs maternity clothes? When, Michael?" He had no answer. I picked up my purse. "The wedding is canceled. I've refunded what I can. Consider the rest a very expensive lesson." "Mom, you can't do this." Michael's voice was desperate now. "Everyone's invited. We sent out 200 invitations." "Then you better start making calls." I walked toward the door. Julia followed. Behind me, I heard Amber wailing. "What are we supposed to do? What are we going to tell people?" I turned back one last time. "Tell them the truth. Tell them you lied. Tell them you took $50,000 from someone who loved you and then pretended you didn't. See how that plays on Instagram." Julia and I walked out of Gibson's Steakhouse into the cool Chicago night. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. "I can't believe I just did that," I whispered. "I can't believe you finally did it," Julia said. She was crying now too, but smiling through it. "Mom, I'm so proud of you." We sat in my car for 20 minutes before I could trust myself to drive. My phone was buzzing constantly. Michael, Amber, Michael again. Unknown numbers that were probably Amber's parents. I turned it off. The next morning, my phone showed 43 missed calls and 62 text messages. I made coffee, sat on my back porch, and read through them all. Most were from Michael. They followed a predictable progression. "Mom, please call me. We need to talk about this. You're being unreasonable. Dad would be ashamed of you." That one hurt. But I knew in my heart it wasn't true. Tom would have been ashamed of Michael, not me. The final text from Michael said, "Fine. We'll figure it out ourselves. Like we should have from the beginning. Don't expect to be invited to the wedding if we manage to salvage it." Amber's texts were different, angrier. "You ruined my life. I hope you're happy. Everyone's talking about what you did. You embarrassed us in front of everyone. Michael's family is so toxic. I'm glad I'll never have to deal with you again." Julia called at 8 a.m. "How are you?" "I'm not sure yet." "Do you regret it?" I thought about that. Did I regret standing up for myself? Regret refusing to be taken advantage of anymore? "No," I said. "I don't think I do." "Good. Because what you did took courage, Mom. Real courage. The truth is, the first week was hard. I kept expecting to feel guilty, to pick up the phone and apologize, to offer to reinstate everything if they just said they were sorry. But Michael never said he was sorry. Neither did Amber. What I got instead, 2 weeks later, was a Facebook event invitation. "Michael Chen and Amber Taylor request the pleasure of your company at their wedding. Intimate ceremony, immediate family only." They'd salvage something. Probably a backyard wedding at Amber's parents' house, knowing Patricia's taste. Small, quiet. Nothing like the lavish affair they'd planned with my money. I wasn't invited. Julia was. But she didn't go. "If you're not there, I'm not there," she said. "Julia, he's your brother, and you're my mother. He made his choice. I'm making mine." 3 months after the wedding that I didn't attend, I found something while cleaning out Tom's home office. I'd been avoiding it. 3 years after his death, and I still couldn't bear to pack up his things. His reading glasses still sat on the desk. His favorite coffee mug, stained and chipped, was still in the cabinet. But that afternoon, I decided it was time. In the bottom drawer of his filing cabinet, under folders of old tax returns and insurance documents, I found an envelope, my name on the front in Tom's handwriting. My hands shook as I opened it. "My dearest Rebecca," it began. "If you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I left you alone. I wanted more time. I wanted to take you to Vietnam to see your grandparents' village. I wanted to finally learn to dance properly so I wouldn't embarrass you at Julia's wedding. I wanted to grow old with you, but since I can't be there, I want to give you some advice about our children, especially Michael. I love our son, but I've watched him over the years, and I'm worried. He's charming and successful, but he's always looked for the easy way out. He's always known exactly what to say to get what he wants. He's always played on emotions rather than taking responsibility. I've seen how he works on you, how he knows you can't say no when he calls you mom in that particular way, how he times his requests for when you're feeling most vulnerable. Rebecca, you are the kindest person I've ever known. It's one of the reasons I fell in love with you. But kindness without boundaries becomes enabling. If Michael comes to you for money after I'm gone, and he will please remember, helping him stand on his own feet is not the same as carrying him. You don't owe our children your retirement. You don't owe them your peace of mind. You don't owe them your happiness. Love them. Support them emotionally. Be their mother. But don't let them turn you into an ATM. I've set up something to help you be strong when you need to be. In our safe deposit box at First National, there are bonds in your name only. $25,000. It's from that bonus I got 5 years ago. I've been saving it for you, for something special. Use it for that trip to Asia. Use it for the kitchen renovation. Use it for watercolor classes and cooking lessons, and all the things we plan to do together. Use it for you. Don't tell the kids about it. It's yours. You've earned it by loving us all so well for so long. I love you, Rebecca. Be strong. Be happy. Remember that you deserve both, always. Tom. I sat on the floor of his office and cried until I had no tears left. Then I drove to the bank. The bonds were exactly where he said they'd be. $25,000. Enough for all the things I'd given up to pay for a wedding that I wasn't even invited to attend. I booked the trip to Vietnam that afternoon. 3 weeks, just me, exploring the country of my grandparents' birth. I signed up for watercolor classes. I hired a contractor to finally renovate the kitchen. And slowly, the house stopped being so quiet. 4 months after the wedding, Michael called. Mom? It's me. His voice was different. Smaller, humbler. Hi, Michael. Can we talk? In person? I don't know if that's a good idea. Please. I need to say something, and I need to say it face to face. We met at a coffee shop in Evanston, neutral territory. He looked tired, older somehow. Thank you for meeting me, he said. I didn't respond. I just waited. I've been in therapy, he said. Since the wedding, Amber and I both. We've been working through some things. That's good. Mom, I'm so sorry. His voice cracked. I'm sorry for using you. I'm sorry for lying. I'm sorry for being a terrible son. I'm sorry for taking advantage of your grief and your loneliness. I'm sorry for everything. I'd imagined this moment 100 times. In some versions, I was cold and unforgiving. In others, I crumbled immediately and took him back. The reality was somewhere in between. Why? I asked. Why did you do it? Because I could. Because you never said no. Because I convinced myself I deserved it, that you wanted to do it, that it wasn't really hurting you, but it was hurting me. I know. God. I know that now. Do you know what it's like to realize you've become the villain in someone else's story? To realize you've been the person taking advantage of someone who only ever loved you? Michael, let me finish. Please. He took a breath. I read Dad's letter. I stared at him. How, Julia? She found out about it somehow. She sent me a copy. She wanted me to know that Dad saw who I was becoming, even then, that he warned you about me. Julia shouldn't have. No, she should have. I needed to see it. I needed to know that my own father, before he died, was worried about what kind of person I was becoming. Do you know how that feels? I can imagine. Mom, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect us to go back to how things were. But I needed you to know that I see it now. I see what I did, and I'm ashamed. We sat in silence for a long moment. How's married life? I finally asked. Complicated. Amber and I are working through some things. Turns out, when you build a relationship on appearances and taking advantage of people, the foundation isn't very strong. Are you going to make it? I don't know. I hope so. But even if we don't, I need to make this right with you first. With Julia, too. I burned a lot of bridges. Julia loves you. She's angry, but she loves you. And you? Do you still love me? I looked at my son, my first baby, the boy who used to crawl into bed with me during thunderstorms, the teenager who'd cried in my arms when he didn't make the baseball team, the young man who'd given a beautiful speech at his father's funeral about integrity and family and love. Of course I love you, Michael. I'm your mother. But love and trust are different things. You broke my trust. That takes time to rebuild. I understand. I'll wait. However long it takes. There's something you should know, I said. I'm not the same person I was 6 months ago. I'm not the mother who couldn't say no. I'm not the widow who was so desperate for connection that she let herself be used. I've changed. I can see that. You look lighter, happier. I am happier. Tell me about Vietnam. And so I did. I told him about Ha Long Bay and Hanoi and Hoi An, about finding my grandmother's village and seeing the rice paddies where she'd grown up, about the watercolor class where I'd painted my first landscape, about the book club I'd joined and the women who'd become my friends. I told him about the life I was building, a life that didn't revolve around waiting for my children to need me. We talked for 2 hours. At the end, we hugged. It was awkward and stilted, but it was something. Can I call you? He asked. Not for money, just to talk? Yes. But Michael, if you ever ask me for money again, if you ever try to manipulate me again, we're done. I won't be a bank account. I'm your mother, and that's all I'm willing to be. I understand. And Mom, I'm going to pay you back. Every cent. It might take years, but I'm going to pay you back. You don't have to. I do. Not for you. For me. Because that's what a man with integrity does. That's what Dad would have done. He kept his word. The first check came 3 weeks later. $500 with a note. First payment. Many more to come. Julia and Michael reconciled slowly. They had lunch once a month, trying to rebuild what had been broken. Amber and I had one conversation 6 months after the wedding. She called to apologize. I was wrong, she said. I was so worried about how things looked, about my image, about keeping up with influencers who had rich parents funding their lifestyle. I forgot about being a decent human being. Thank you for saying that. I don't expect us to be close. I know I ruined that chance. But I wanted you to know that I'm sorry, and that I'm working on being better, being real. Her Instagram changed after that. Fewer posed photos, more honest content. She even posted once about how she'd nearly ruined her marriage by caring more about appearances than authenticity. It got 50,000 likes. It's been a year now since that rehearsal dinner at Gibson's. A year since I stood up in front of 50 people and said no. Julia just got engaged to her girlfriend Sarah. They're planning a small ceremony in the backyard with close friends and family. They asked if I'd help with the cost. I said yes, not because I can't say no anymore, but because I can choose when to say yes. Because they approached me with respect, with gratitude, with a clear budget and plan. Because they see me as their mother, not as a bank account. Michael and Amber are still married, still in therapy, still working through their issues. They came for Thanksgiving last year, and it was easier than I'd expected. We didn't talk about the wedding. We talked about their jobs, about Julia's engagement, about the trip I'm planning to Italy next spring. At the end of the night, as they were leaving, Michael hugged me. I'm proud of you, Mom, he whispered. Dad would be proud too. Maybe he would have been. I like to think so. I'm 61 now. I've traveled to 4 countries in the past year. I've made new friends. I've learned to paint passable watercolors. I've stopped being the woman who couldn't say no and become the woman who chooses when to say yes. I'm still working on forgiving myself for enabling my son for so long, for not seeing what was happening until it was almost too late, for mistaking enabling for love, but I'm getting there. I poured myself a glass of wine last night, not tea, wine, and sat on my renovated back deck, looking at the garden Tom and I planted 15 years ago. The roses are blooming. The night air smells like jasmine, and I realized I'm not lonely anymore. I'm alone sometimes, yes, but there's a difference between loneliness and solitude. One is empty, the other is full. I'm full now, full of myself, full of my own life, full of the future I'm choosing instead of the one I'm funding for everyone else. And that, I think, is what Tom meant when he wrote, "Be happy. You deserve it." I do deserve it. And so do you. If you're reading this and recognizing yourself in my story, you deserve respect. You deserve boundaries. You deserve to be loved for who you are, not what you can provide. Say no when you need to. Say yes when you choose to. And remember, you're not an ATM. You're a person, a valuable, worthy, deserving person. Don't let anyone tell you different, not even your children, especially not your children.